They want me to catch it.
We're going to call this meeting to order, and we have 6 board members. Dr. Ball is absent. Any public comment? Okay, let's get the ball rolling here. Going to reconvene our regular meeting. Roll call. We have 6 board members present, and Dr. Ball is ill and not here with us. Would you please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, in closed session, let's see if I can get all this right. Mr. Nava motion and Mrs. McFarland second, and the board approved the appointment of Emmanuel Vargas as the after-school education and safety vice principal effective for the 24-25 school year by a vote of 6 yes, 0 no's, and 1 absent. The second one was, let's see, Sanderson motion and McFarland second, and the board approved the appointment of Jazine Wada as alternative program vice principal. I'm sure I butchered that to no end. Effective 24-25 school year by a vote of 6 yes, 0 no's, and 1 absent. Mrs. McFarland motion, Mr. Nova second, and the board approved the appointment of Lisa Cranford as Director 3 Technology Services effective 24-25 school year by the following vote of 6 yes, 0 no's, 1 absent. Mrs. McFarland motion, Mr. Stroh second, and the board approved the appointment of Do Singh as Director 3 Controller effective 24-25 school year by the following vote of 6 yes and 0 no's and 1 absent. Continuing on, conference with legal counsels, anticipated litigation. Mr. Nava motion, Mrs. McFarland second. The board rejected claim number 638672 by the following vote of 5 yes, 0 no, 1 absent, and 1 abstain. And a conference with legal counsel, another anticipated litigation of claim number 638676. Mr. Nava motion, Mrs. McFarland second, and the board rejected that claim 638676 by the following vote of 6 yes, 0 no's, 1 absent. Okay. Moving on to recognitions. First recognition is for Mr. Kenneth Kissinger, 25 years of service as a Lodi Unified School District volunteer for free.
Wow. Mr. Connect, member of the board. As the Heritage students know him, Grandpa Ken he has volunteered his time helping our students and his students for 25 years, longer than some of our careers. And it is a gift when someone puts their time and energy into our students. And when we were speaking, his words were, "We need more volunteers to help out our students." And that heart speaks to who you are. We actually had the birthday celebration that happened at Heritage, but because you are up here, I think we'd rather hear from you. And if you have a moment to share with us as we recognize you, we would appreciate that. And I know, yeah, so would you just share with us? Would you share with us just your passion for volunteering?
Well, I started when I retired from school, and I was never a teacher. I worked in industries, the post office, the Lucky's, and I also worked for Targets for a while. And so when I retired, I had a couple of grandkids, wanted to take them to school. And I started educating there. And they kept sending me to different schools. First they sent me to one school, and then they sent me to Lawrence, and then went to Live Oak with somebody, and then I went to Borchard when they opened that up, and then went to Larson. And I was with a teacher in Larson for 25 years. I started with her in Lawrence, and I ended up when she retired. And I was with Heritage for 22 years. But I've been doing it for 30 years, not just 25, 30 years.
I stand corrected.
That's okay. But I enjoy it. I come to get up in the morning, and makes my mind start working. I had a stroke 12 years ago. I couldn't talk. I had to learn how to talk, and the kids in school taught me to talk. I still have trouble. You notice how I have trouble, but I've learned how to do it, fight and do something right, and I enjoyed it.
Well, we appreciate your sacrifices and the joy it gives you working with our students. So we just had to recognize you as a model of someone who puts their actions with our kids. So thank you.
Thank you for all you've done for us, sir. Oh, we have a clip. Oh, okay.
Important day at a Lodi school. Students and staff members celebrated a special birthday.
Oh, Kenneth Kissinger has been volunteering at Heritage Elementary School for the last 25 years. He turns 95 today, and this morning the third graders welcomed him to school with a birthday banner. They sang happy birthday, as you saw there. There were cards and balloons. And Kenneth says volunteering at the school is what helps him stay sharp.
It keeps my mind working and walking, make me healthy.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Kenneth says he hopes he'll be able to celebrate with the students in 5 years when he turns 100.
Wow. Okay, we have another recognition. This is the Classified Employee of the Year. Is Desiree Weiss here by chance? Would you like to present this?
Good evening, members of the board. Mr. Young, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to share with you who CSEA nominated for our Employee of the Year. Our requirement is at 60% union participation and 40% work-related. So the individual that we have to present to you tonight to share with you who our Employee of the Year is Tamay Braden. He is currently an SDC preschool para working at Park Lane. So we did announce it during our dinner and also went to her school site and celebrated her last week. And so thank you for letting us share with you who our Employee of the Year is.
Thank you for whoever nominated me. I'm not sure who did that, but I feel the gratitude and I feel loved, and I love working with the students, and it just brings me joy every day. And to see how they grow every day brings such a joy, and it means that we're actually, making a difference in somebody's life. Thank you.
Okay, at this point, we have some public hearings that I'd like to declare the 24-25 budget adoption public hearing open. Are any board comments? Public comments? Okay, I declare this public hearing closed then. Who's standing up? Oh, okay. then I'll reopen it.
Yeah, you know, I'm no spring chicken like Mr. Kissinger, so, you know, it takes me a minute. So yeah, on the budget, I noticed that, it's on, what page, it's on page, I think it's 7 of the PDF out of 60. Books and supplies, materials and supplies, 4,300. We went from 112,155,045. We reduced it by 61%. So I know we didn't spend that amount of money. So my question is, where did that money go?
Have to ask, Mr.
Page 7 of the,
PDF?
of 160,
Yes.
that's not the, down at the bottom.
4,300, yeah.
The biggest,
Please.
connects to the members of the board, Superintendent Young, the biggest dollar amount in your 4,000 codes is the ESSER money and the COVID monies.
Okay.
I know, I'm just saying, I understand that, but we didn't spend 112 million. It went down by 67%, so, or actually, yeah, 66%. So, yeah, where did it go? I know we didn't spend it.
I think the board's aware that there's still 4 more months, inclusive June, July, August, and September, to actually spend that money. There are a lot of M&O projects going on right now, like shelters, HVACs, flooring projects, hundreds and hundreds of classrooms that are being refloored. So
And that comes out of books and supplies?
it's coming out of a lot of the equipment would come out of 4,000 code. And I think Ms. Harris also has presented substantial reports on the ESSER spending as well.
Then let's look at this next one. I will declare the local control and accountability plan, LCAP, public hearing open.
Mr. Connect, I just want to make sure, did you close the public hearing on the first?
I'll reclose it then.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect, thank you.
Okay, we've opened the LCAP public hearing. Any board comments? And public comments. Then I'll declare the public hearing closed. Moving on to comments from employee groups. Each employee group represented shall limit their comments to 5 minutes. So let's rock and roll. Who's that? LEA? Okay.
President Knackstead, members of the board, and Mr. Superintendent Young. So I have the pleasure today of spending time lobbying in our state capitol on behalf of CTA and the budget compromise that was made, and hoping that our state legislators go ahead and move that forward. I think that will bring some stability to the budget. Also, one of the things that we were asking for is no layoffs in August, which could be triggered by less than 2% in Prop 98 funding. So I'm hoping that the school board will also adhere to those provisions. Over the past couple of weeks since LEA ratified our tentative agreement, many of my members have continued to feel disrespected. They felt disrespected because part of it was money. They wanted the full COLA. I get that. We get COLA from the state. It should be passed on to our employees, treat them a fair living wage. But most recently, they have been upset about the fact that it was declared in our bargaining session and personally to me in meetings with Dr. Dostie that if we met a particular timeline, that we would be paid by June 12th. I don't know where the date came from, but I know that it wasn't made up. I worked with my e-board, I worked with my elections committee to compress the voting period as short as possible based on our bylaws. We got it done. I sent out I had my e-board meeting, emergency e-board meetings after hours, not only to get the time, to discuss the deal, to get the timeline approved, to attend an informational meeting with my members, but also to accept the vote on the Friday night before a 3-day weekend. I sent out an email that evening to Mr. Young and Dr. Dosty saying that LEA's e-board had accepted the results and presented them with the results. The next thing that happens is we're being told that, oh, there's no possible way you can be paid on June 12th. You're going to be paid on July 10th. It's not the money. It's not that my members are feeling like they're getting ripped off. That's not the point. The point is the trust. The point is you made a statement and then you backed off. And that's how my members feel all the time. That the district does not keep their word. The district cannot be trusted. I just found out of another example of that today. Again, while I was driving home from Sacramento, somebody screenshots me a posting about a book approval that happened today. I knew nothing about it. LEA was never asked to submit names of certificated teacher librarians who know their stuff to be on the panel, which was something that I know Mr. Young had brought up last summer when this was discussed. I never knew that that policy had been approved. The last I heard it was shelved. But all of a sudden, we're having a book review committee with one of the teachers are middle school teachers for high school books. And one of the parents on there is, from what I was told, was one of the parents who filed a majority of the complaints. Specifically complaints against the 2 books that are now banned from Lodi Unified School District. And I said it. You guys are banning books. How is that an objective opinion? How is it that the librarians from the high school are contacting me and telling me that they had other supporting documentation about the worthwhileness of these books, but they were not allowed to present it? How is this happening? This is un-American. This is censorship. I don't know about you, but my dad was much older than my mother, fought in World War II. He fought against fascism.
Here we go again.
Mr. Kissinger probably fought against fascism. How is this happening in the United States of America? I don't understand. I don't. And again, going back to my teachers who feel disrespected and shut out from valuable discussions about educating our students. I know on this last personnel report, we have a lot more resignations, and I know of more that are coming. I know that in elementary, I know that we have time to, we don't have very many openings, but we have a ton of openings in special ed and in secondary.
Okay.
Doing things like this is not going to attract and retain teachers. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, time for, moving on to comments from the public then. 20-minute time period has been set aside for the public to address the board on items not listed on the agenda. Each public speaker shall limit their comments to 3 minutes, and the board cannot engage in dialogue about public comments because of restrictions placed by the California Brown Act. Make sure you give us your names when you come up. So is there any? Oh, my cards. Ansel Garcia.
spoken yet. I feel encouraged. Hello, welcome. Oh, hi. Just returned from vacation, feeling relaxed. Ann Suela Garcia, educator, community member, and Leah organizing. A tentative agreement was signed Tuesday, May 14th between the Leah bargaining team and the district team. The TA lacks much of the contract language the association was asking to secure for their members. The language would improve student experiences at school and supported the needs of our members. The association was seeking contract language that would improve vocational experiences as well as attract and retain teachers needed to properly support students. The TA has ongoing money offer that is less than COLA provided by the state and also less than the increasing cost of health insurance. It is also less than what many surrounding districts offer their teachers. And a side note, in the resignation, we have this amazing SPED teacher that's been here, and she's leaving and going to Lincoln Unified. She's in your registration, in your resignation tonight. She's going to Lincoln. She's amazing, and we lost her. The TA has one-time money bonus from budgeted but unfilled teaching and CSEA positions. These unfilled positions called for other employees to go above and beyond their work to do the work for employees that were not hired. This one-time money amount is more than CSEA was offered and less than the administration was given. When the TA was signed, district officials told Leah June 12th for the payment of our retro money and a one-time money. Our voting window was open for 5 days, 5/20 to 5/24, Monday through Friday. Leah ratified the vote on the Friday after Memorial Day weekend, and Lisa notified the district of the ratification that evening. The June 12th date was presented by district officials and didn't come out of nowhere, but the date cannot be made. The district should admit their mistake and apologize for the error rather than attempt to blame Leah's election timeline. Last week, Leah sent hundreds of emails requesting the payment as promised. Mr. Young compromised to our president, Lisa Lennon Wilkins, was that the one-time money would be added to our June 30th paycheck and retro money would be paid July 12th. That is not the verbal agreement that was made. The verbal agreement that was met was that money was owed to the association members would be paid on June 12th. Also, Leah members do not want the extra money on top of their typical paycheck. Again, Leah members say keep your verbal agreement and pay your employees on June 12th. If because the district did not work on the timeline they gave Leah and June 12th isn't possible, issue the money on another date later in June but not June 30th. Leah members do not want the money combined with their regular paycheck. One-time money and retro money could be paid before June 30th and paychecks would go out on June 30th. This adjustment would allow time to release the funds and put them on a regular check rather than the paycheck. It seems like a reasonable compromise. Here is the worst part of all of this, not even the money, is that the effect it has on the people. They're sad, they're mad, they're frustrated, and they still feel again that they're not valued. This has to stop for Lodi Unified School District and their members, their teachers, their staff, to improve and rebuild a relationship with trust. Thank you.
Thank you. I wasn't planning to be here today. My name is David Diskin, but I got so many emails over the weekend and instant messengers. Even a nonprofit organization has reached out to their members about what I guess is book banning. I don't know. And that's the problem. I have no idea what's going on. I hear rumors though. I've been hearing rumors since August of last year. I heard that last year our superintendent tried a power grab by changing the policies to make you the sole person in charge of who's ultimately responsible for what books our students are allowed to read and which ones are pulled. This year I heard that books that our librarians and teachers wanted to order were delayed for some inexplicable reason. One of the books was Juliet Takes a Breath. It's an award-winning American Library Association book. I looked at the concerns that some of these groups have about this book, and I'm quoting, "This book contains alternate sexualities, alternate gender ideologies, controversial historical, racial, society commentary." Oh no. I remember when I was in school a while ago, we read The Great Gatsby, Catcher in the Rye, Lord of the Flies. I don't understand why those books are still being taught today and we're pulling Juliet Takes a Breath. I guess if you're a straight white person, maybe it's okay. But I'm concerned that this concerns people. I understand that a committee was recently formed. I don't know who's on the committee. I don't know who selected them. I do have my suspicions. I don't know by what authority this committee was even formed. And I don't know. I don't know whether I need to be angry or just let this go. That's my problem. I don't know what's going on. I've read over minutes, I've looked at videos, and I don't see this board talking about this nearly enough. I don't know what your position is on this. I don't know where the meeting minutes are of this meeting that allegedly happened, or if there was an agenda or public notice about it. I guess there was something that just happened today. I guess I've even heard that books were just banned today. And I don't see any public notice about this. I don't know if there is even going to be one. And so I want to encourage this board to take action on this. Take this before it gets worse. This is already out of control. This is already blowing up. This is already all over social media. And this has been going on since August. Again, I stress, today 2 books were banned. That's my understanding. 2 books by LGBT authors. Happy Pride Month. Thank you.
Lindsay Ness in USS.
Good evening, my name is Lindsay Ness. I have 2 daughters that attend Lodi Unified Schools, an incoming 7th grade student at Millswood Middle School, and an incoming sophomore at Lodi High School. I'm here with questions regarding the formation of the Book Review Committee. Recent events have raised concerns about the fairness and transparency of this new Book Review Committee's formation. These concerns and complaints appear to be driven by a vocal minority rather than the broader community of parents and educators. Just today, the committee met for the first time, voting to ban 2 books, including one that was part of the AP Literature exam in 2017. I'm requesting that the opportunity to serve on this committee be extended to all community members, not just those who have filed a complaint or were selected. This will ensure a more diverse and representative decision-making process. Decisions about what constitutes appropriateness and relevance should align with California Education Code, not the personal beliefs of a few individuals. This inclusivity would ensure a diverse range of perspectives and help maintain trust in the committee's decisions. The process for forming this committee also lacks transparency. I have questions about how this committee was formed and how applicants were sought. Librarians were asked to submit challenge books for review. This request coincidentally came on the last day of the school year. This gives the impression that the committee was selectively chosen, potentially undermining its objectivity and credibility. Furthermore, the proposed book review committee risks sidelining the professional judgment of our educators. Librarians and teachers are trained to curate diverse and educationally valuable collections. Implementing a parent notification policy, as suggested by our librarians, is a more balanced approach. It respects parental concerns while preserving the richness of our library collection. While it's crucial to address the legitimate concerns about instructional materials, forming a book review committee under these circumstances with no public notice for opportunity or applicants is not the right solution. We should instead uphold our existing policies and ensure transparency and inclusivity in any review process and trust the professional judgment of our educators. Let's focus on fostering an educational environment that values diverse perspectives and critical thinking. On another note, LEA members, our teachers, were given a verbal agreement to receive their back pay owed since the beginning of the 23-24 school year on June 12th. The district has now pulled back from this agreement. If the district cannot make their agreed upon date of June 12th, it's not fair to teachers to receive their retroactive pay in their regular paycheck. Our teachers deserve to be compensated in a fair and timely manner. Thank you.
No?
What was the name?
Amber Lynn?
Yes. It's a short name, it's easy.
Yeah, okay, yeah, say that.
Okay, I'm Amber Lynn, and I did not prepare as well as some of the other people, but I still wanted to take this few minutes to go ahead and let you know some of the law and policies about choice of instructional materials. So first, there is an official definition of obscenity, which I believe was claimed about at least one of the books. A definition of obscenity, according to the U.S. Supreme Court in 1973, predominantly appeals to prurient interest or a shameful or morbid interest in nudity, sex, or excretion. depicts or describes in a patently offensive way sexual conduct, or lacks serious, literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. I said or, but actually, all three parts must be satisfied for it to be obscene. I claim that a book that's on the AP test, which my daughter will be taking, doesn't lack. Next, let's go ahead and talk about the Lodi Unified School District's own policy that states, this is Rule 6144.1, no parent has the right to determine reading, viewing, or listening matter for students other than his or her own children. Next, I'll go ahead and quote the California Department of Education, which states the committee, if there is one, should be representative of the community and educated about intellectual freedom issues in advance of any challenges. The policy should be reviewed each year by principals, teachers, teacher librarians, and classified library employees. And I quote, "The right to not read a selected text does not mean one can prevent others from reading that text."
Thank you. Karen Jackson.
Hi, good evening, members of the board and Mr. Young. I'm also here to speak about the book banning committee. And it's my understanding, because we have not been given a lot of information, that the members were appointed versus having members being able to apply for the committee, and includes the member who made a complaint about a specific book. It is also my understanding that they are using BookLooks, which is a book rating site also used by Moms of Liberty, a group labeled as an extremist group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. One of the books that was banned is a kind of an epic love story, which is a sweet, queer love story that is designated as 14+ by publishers. From the Trevor Project, suicide is the second leading cause of death among young people aged 10 to 14, and the third leading cause of death among 15 to 24-year-olds. LGBTQ+ young people are more than 4 times as likely to try to commit suicide. LGBTQ+ young people are not inherently prone to suicide risk because of their sexual orientation or gender identity, but rather placed at higher risk because of how they are mistreated and stigmatized in society. I'd like to refer to Board Policy 5141.52, Suicide Prevention, specifically number 3, methods for promoting a positive school climate that enhances students' feeling of connectedness with the school and that is characterized by caring staff and harmonious interrelationships among students. And I think that's something we need to keep in mind when we are banning books for people that tell them that being LGBTQ+ is wrong. Thank you.
Is that Karen Jackson? You were Karen Jackson, right?
Yes.
Okay. Jen Castle.
Hello, LUSD School Board Trustees. My name is Jen Castle. I worked for Lodi Unified at Bear Creek and Tokay as a high school English teacher for 29 years. I've been attending and watching board meetings regularly since my mom was elected to the board 18 years ago. Thanks. I've been a college English professor at Delta College for the last 6 years. I've taught AP Literature for this district for more than 25 years. I've worked as a grader for College Board. I've served on many district curriculum committees and AP vertical teams. I hold a master's degree in English literature and a PhD in educational leadership. I own 2 houses in Lodi, one in Dr. Ball's area and one in Ms. Alexander's area. I have deep roots in this community, and although I don't work for LUSD any longer, I still care a lot about teaching kids to be successful readers and writers and helping all kids feel included and safe in their learning environments. I left the district a year ago to teach for Palo Alto Unified, but the last time I spoke to the board was on this topic of book banning exactly 1 year ago. At that time, I reminded the board that the high school English curriculum was full of books that some might deem offensive: the double suicides in Romeo and Juliet, the adultery and grisly car accident in The Great Gatsby, the genocide in Elie Wiesel's Night, the racial bigotry in To Kill a Mockingbird. I took issue a year ago with the vague language in the proposed board policy. I also took issue with the lack of librarians and English teachers involved in the committee and the policy. Last year, I heard several trustees on this board voice similar concerns. I also heard that LUSD was definitely not banning books. Now we've heard that the newly formed book review committee met this morning and have banned 2 books from the district shelves. One of these, Push, as already mentioned, was on the AP Literature exam. The other is a popular young adult LGBTQ love story. Both books written by African American women authors. We've also heard rumors that no high school English teachers were included as voting members of the committee. None of the librarians were allowed to vote or share information with the committee this morning either. I've asked several board members about this. They all seemed unaware. I would like then to formally submit a FOIA request. The Freedom of Information Act allows constituents from the community, like me, to ask for records pertaining to how government agencies conduct business. And the Brown Act helps school boards govern openly with input from the public. I'd like to know how the committee was formed, who sits on the committee, what board policy guides the work of this committee, and what the agenda was for today's meeting, and the minutes for today's meeting as well. In the interest of transparency to your stakeholders, all of this information should be made available to not just me, but the entire community. When I told people I worked with in Palo Alto and higher ed that Lodi Unified had proposed a mechanism for book banning, they were incredulous. They thought this type of ignorance was limited to places like Florida. It's embarrassing that this district continues to pander to narrow-minded, racist, bigoted, homophobic, fringe complainants.
Ms. Cassie, give us
This is
closing,
not
please.
who we are.
Blast from the past.
Good evening, President Knackstead, members of the board, Superintendent Young. I do come today. I think the previous 3 speakers summed up everything that is on the minds of members currently. And I'll refer back to our organizing person, Ansuela Garcia. The bottom line is respect currently in this district, and how teachers are feeling the lack of respect, and the lack of respect for, one, what happened this morning with the book banning committee, of which I would like you to reconsider and ask the questions about, was this committee a fair representation? Was there knowledge in our community that this was going on? From our last speakers, I think you know the answer to that and how we're feeling tonight. I'd also ask you to consider being respectful in the agreement, the verbal agreement that Leah reached with LUSD. If the timeline could not have been made, there should have been an agreement, not a threat, not this is the best that can be. There should have been negotiations if the district could not submit those checks based on the verbal agreement that we were all under the impression was June 12th. So please show us the respect. We are happy that Leah came to an agreement, but it kind of is leaving a little bit of a bitter taste in everybody's mouth because it was not what we had anticipated. So please reconsider the committee and what the district can do about changing the timeline and negotiate with our president for a solution that is agreeable to all. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kelly Hansen, teach 6th grade at Julia Morgan. I got home at 6:45, turned my phone on for the first time today and said, oh damn, I have to go to a board meeting. And the reason I'm here, and I'm not prepared to speak about anything, but I don't know, there's so many things mentioned, the honor, the reason we fought World War II. My grandfather has a statue in France because he helped save an entire town from the Nazi invasion by blowing up this bridge in some special fabulous way that they had to make a statue about it. But honor has always been something very important. And Mr. Young, when you sit there and you chew your gum and sit back in your chair, it looks very disrespectful. I don't know how anyone else feels, but it doesn't feel good. I couldn't believe, number one, I don't believe we ever did finalize that thing that put Neil Young as the super person of what is right and what's wrong with book banning. I hate that we're partisan and that the majority of the people on that are people who come from a very selected point of view. And I'd like to nominate Mrs. Nuss and Mrs. Lynn to be the other side of the story, because it seems like in just a short time they were able to come up with good things to present. The fact that materials were not allowed to be read by the committee, what kind of committee is that? I know they have committees like that in other places in the world, and I'm hoping that the United States does not become that kind of place where we have all those kind of committees. We rubber stamped it. We did what we had to do. I have worked so long for this district, and it pains me that we are losing our honor. And you can look away, everyone, you know, and not make eye contact and say, but I've come here so many times and I said, just give us one thing to make us happy. You didn't give us one thing. Then all this disrespect with how you're paying it. Well, please don't put the extra money on top of our regular paycheck and screw us with taxes. Please don't do that. This just feels like another slap in the face. And I'm a 6th grade teacher, and I've had so many kids come out to me. And when we have those 2 girls come up and talk about, and I'm worried now, were they girls? I'm not quite sure, but they came so well spoken, but they were feeling hate in the halls of Lodi High. Hate in our schools. And then we're doing this when, I don't know, I mean, when you have that handout from Susan Heberly, I badly came over and read it. I did the bad thing. I'm sorry the ladies weren't quick enough to grab all the papers. And I was like, I talked to my friend Jen, and I said, Jen, they don't assign this because it was filth. What I read, the part I read. And she said, no, but it's a very important book. And it's not what that one part that was given to everyone to read was all about. And I'm like, we just have to have a better way to do this than to resort to book banning. Should we have a big pile here, we have a barbecue and we burn the books in front of everyone and this is a good thing? This is a step backward for everyone. And I just want us to be honorable, open, transparent. Neil, you should have called other people to be on this. You should have asked the public to step up. There would have been lots of parents who feel very ardent about this, and I feel ardent about it. We all need to step up and do the right thing, and what we have done is not the right thing done.
Okay, moving on to consent agenda A. Again, the public may address the board on consent agenda A, which is routine business. Each public speaker shall limit their time to 3 minutes. Is there any public that would like to, anybody from the public who would like to talk about consent agenda A? Okay. Is there any items you'd like to be pulled toward? Yes.
I'm sorry.
Well, we got A1, this one.
Item A8.
8. Okay. Any others? Okay.
Which is the other one, sir?
A1 and A8.
Who pulled A1?
I did. Porter. Okay, any board comments?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the rest of routine agenda A.
I second that.
Okay. Okay, well, since we don't have any students, let's be board vote. Might not go. I'm good. There's my vote. Okay, consent agenda A passes, 7 in favor, 1 absent. Okay. Going on to consent agenda B. Did I miss one? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot we pulled. Okay, you pulled A1, Ms. Porter, sorry.
No worries. All right, I pulled A1 because I wanted to point something out. Obviously, we owe money that was spent in overage, and we have to honor that money spent. My concern is item number 3 on A1 with Kingsley Bogart, which has been a concern of mine since I started on the board. I've always felt that we should have a lawyer on a retainer to deal with any type of negotiations or contracts. That lawyer then would be technically at our beck and call. I have a good friend that handles insurance for large companies. And instead of taking a fee as, on the amount of the insurance he's covering, he just takes a fee so that the person can call him at any time for the coverage that he provides. My question is, we're having an amendment of $75,000. This was 1/2 of the original amount that's posted, which now gives us almost close to $250,000. This has been going on now for many years. I believe that Kingsley Bogart has represented for the district for well over 20 years. And I struggle that we always keep doing the same thing. Now, I have utmost confidence in our people in personnel. They're paid very well to handle negotiations. And if there's concerns about wording or commas or anything in the contracts that they've negotiated, obviously, you could tell the people that they're negotiating with, which in this case would be LEA and CSEA, hey, this is fine, looks good so far, but we need legal to take a look at it. Simple as that. We don't need to have the lawyer there at every meeting. I've been to enough meetings now where I just don't get it. We have people we pay to handle contracts. And if they're concerned about the legality of something they've done, should have a lawyer on a retainer. Most districts do this, but Lodi Unified has always done it this way. Now we're up to $225,000 in legal fees dealing with 2 employee groups. Just 2. And I really struggle with this. At a time budget cuts are coming, and they're going to come. And people are going to have to be let go. And it'll start in this building, as far as I'm concerned. That $225 is a tremendous expenditure. We could put somebody, a legal mind, on a retainer and have them at a better call. Also, we've had meetings changed because they don't meet, quote, the lawyer's calendar. So we have LEA or CCA ready to negotiate with the district. District is ready. Oh, the lawyer has a conflict. I struggle with that. They serve us. We don't serve them. So I just want to point that out. This should be up for renew every year. Should be put out to bid. And I propose that we have a lawyer on retainer that represents the board and Mr. Young dealing with contracts and so forth. That is my suggestion. And even though we have to approve this, because we've already spent the money, because of their hourly, which in this case was 50% of their original amount. But I'm saying in the future, it's not gonna happen. There's no way this should be happening.
We approve item 1A, A1.
Okay, we have, did you get the first, second? Okay. Okay, board vote then. There, okay. Okay, and that passes 5 yes and 1 no, and 1 absent. And Ms. Alexander, you pull item 8.
Yes. I'm just curious, Mr. Khan, after sitting on the facilities meeting and you know me and wanting to understand the difference between the resolution of changing the scope to a design build scope, can you just give me a little bit of information on that? And then I have just a couple more questions on that.
Yes, ma'am. So, members of the board, Superintendent Young, a design build is an exception to hard bidding or design bid build. It doesn't necessarily go completely on the lowest price, although in the board's documents for evaluating either a design build or lease back, price is the biggest component of our evaluation. What design build does, and the board built its M&O facility at 880 North Guild under a design build procurement, is the district or the board will publish a list of criteria. This is what we want, and we will receive proposals from the contractor community, who will then be responsible for not only building it, but also hiring the design team, getting it designed, getting it through DSA. Of course, the board approves the final design before it goes to DSA, and then the contractor builds it.
So hypothetically, if we're in the middle of, I was looking at the design, you know, the scope of what is intended for that field scope, and of course, I am already concerned that there's no bathroom facilities, there's no fencing around it for security perhaps, and I guess my fear is that we start this, money is tight, and then suddenly things get left out and we're left with a subpar place. And I feel very strongly that if we're gonna do it, and it needs to be done, that we do it right the first time and we do it well, so that we have years to use this instead of constantly patchworking this or putting a Band-Aid on this because we didn't do it right the first time.
If I may address the bathroom issue, DSA can always change this after review of the design. The facilities team's pretty certain that we can place the fields in a location where there are existing bathrooms, especially the bathrooms in the new 2-story building would suffice as an accessibility requirement. We looked at while there's not a massive amount of fencing in this, the fields will get outfield fences. The fields that will be done will be on the internal part of Tokay. They're not outside of the current fence line of the entire school. And with the original proposals that we received, the amount of fencing would have basically enveloped both fields. And as the fields exist currently inside the compound, we're not sure that's really necessary. The fields will still function both as CIF competitive fields at the lower levels, the JV and the freshmen. They're intended to function as practice fields for the varsities. The varsity still very much want to play at a Kofu or a Zupo or at least not Billy Hebert anymore, but they still want to use the what are basically minor league type ball fields that are available in the city. But the site still has to also use those fields as PE areas as well. So erecting fencing around the actual playing confines of the field might inhibit that.
And there was talk of utilizing possibly Lodi Middle School's excess field area as a potential. Is that off the table then?
I don't believe it is. I'm stepping away from the design conversations, but I was very much part of it a couple months ago, and that is still an ad alternate for the Lodi Middle design process. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Alexander. My other question is, I look back on this, it says December 14th, 2021, board-approved resolution. There's many projects that are out there at other schools that were before this one. While I'm completely in favor of this, I want to make sure that as we're spending this bond money, and I know Leonard, you and I have talked about this, I can go way back. There are schools that still have projects that are not completed, and
This is not bond money, though. This is the board's capital reserve that's paying for these improvements.
I just want to keep drawing attention to the projects that are not complete, and the bond money is going, and you know what schools I'm speaking of.
There is not a single school site that isn't either complete or active at this time. So your remaining 7 school sites are very much active in the design.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing that they're active. I'm just saying, how many years do we have to talk about them before we go get them in the I agree with you. We're on the same page. I don't want you to think I'm being aggressive with you, but there's several schools that we have talked about extensively, and it feels like other projects are coming, but I understand. Thank you.
Chairman? Yes.
Maybe
No.
somebody had.
Oh, they have a comment?
I have a comment.
Oh, okay.
Why were the fields let go in disrepair? Because they were active years ago.
My big concern with the fields is at Toke is they undulate. It's not like at Lodi, but in terms of their maintenance, they're on a schedule like everything else.
No, I mean, because I've been there for 38 years, Mr. Kahn. Those fields were viable. They had softball games. They had baseball games for their JV. And then we let them go. And then became unplayable. So now we're gonna have to spend money. And I'm curious, probably before your time. So I'm not blaming you.
I'm not aware of a competition occurring on those fields.
No, I mean, you can ask the teachers right here.
I'm not disputing that.
And I know that most of the coaches spent money and their own time grading those fields, infields and so forth. If we're gonna build these, and I know later on we've got these reorganizations coming up, are we gonna hire people that are gonna take care of these facilities? Because, gosh sakes, if we're gonna spend this money on all these buildings, do we need another lead, or do we need a custodian or landscaper to take care of things? That's what I'm trying to say.
Chairman, I will approve item A8.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have first and second on item A8. Board vote. There we go, and this is approved, 6 yes and 1 absent. All right, moving on to, okay, consent agenda B, the public may address the board on consent agenda B, student matters. Each public speaker shall limit their comments to 3 minutes. Is there anybody, this is student discipline cases?
Chairman, I move that we approve consent agenda B, student discipline cases.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stroh. Board vote. And that passes 6 yes, 0 no's, 1 absent. Okay, other action items. Starting with other action item number 1. It's the declaration of need for fully qualified educators. Dr. Dotsey, with it.
President Knesset, members of the board, Mr. Young. California Commission on Teacher Credentialing requires the board to approve a declaration of need that affords us the opportunity to hire teachers on emergency permit for those who are not fully credentialed or limited assignment permits.
Any comment? Public comment? Board comment?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we got McFarland and Nava. Board vote. Okay, 2, 3. Passes 5 yes, 1 no, and 1 absent. Item 2, AB 1200, documents for the Lodi Unified School District Employee Group Lodi Education Association. Mr. Khan.
Thank you, President Knaxted, members of the board, Superintendent Young. This is the board's statutorily required notification for the deal that is to follow in OAI 3 as per AB 1200 and Government Code 3547.5. The deal represents an approximate $20.8 million increase in compensation for the media group.
Any public comment? Board comment?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve item 081-2.
I need a second.
Second.
Okay, board vote. Item passes 6, 0, and 1 absent. Other action item number 3 is the approval of tentative agreement with Lodi Education Association. Dr. Dotsey.
President Knesset, members of the board, Mr. Young. The board is asked to approve the tentative agreement with Lodi Education Association.
Okay. Any public comments? Board comments?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the tentative agreement with LEA.
Okay. And a second?
Second.
Stroh? Okay, board vote. Item passes 6 yes and 1 absent. Other action number 4, approval of memorandum of understanding with the with Lodi Education Association, common planning time. Again, Dr. Dotsey.
President Knesset, members of the board, Mr. Young. The Board of Education is asked to approve the memorandum of understanding reached with the Lodi Education Association regarding common planning time.
Is there public comment?
Lisa Levin-Wilkins, President, Lodi Education Association. My only comment is that I hope the selection process for the members of this MOU will be more transparent than the selection process for those people on the book review, or as I prefer to call it, book banning committee. Thank you.
Any board comments? No, okay. Public comment?
Good evening, members of the board. Desiree Wise, CSEA. I did raise a little questions regarding this attached MOU regarding early release days for the teachers. I did inquire with Dr. Dosti a couple of weeks ago what that means for classified employees. We do have several different classifications that do work at our school sites, and I have yet to receive a response. I would think it would be a great time for some training for our employees, so I look forward to more information. Thank you.
Public comment? Board comment?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve item 0814.
I'll second. Stroh. Okay. Board vote. Passes 6-0, one absent. Other action item number 5 is the approval of primary logos for Dorothy Main School, Turner Academy, and Woodbridge Elementary School. Mr. Young.
Yes, before you once again, additional logos for those 3 schools for your approval.
Public comments?
Motion approved?
Second.
No, I have a board.
Board comment?
Sorry.
Sorry.
You try.
You know me. When you look at English journalism AP style guides, Dorothy Mann, it bothers me that we have consistently throughout our entire district, and if you look it up, mascots are capitalized. The ducklings, I love the logo, I love how it looks, but that lowercase d bothers me. And I think we should be consistent throughout our district. And I went through, no lie, and looked at every school's mascot, and that is the only one. And I know they're dealing with little kids, but I think we just, I don't know. I just wanted to point that out to anybody, and I don't know if anybody's here, if it was even brought up by anybody.
They probably never saw it.
Is anybody from that school?
Yes, Denise, are you still here? Denise, would you be able to speak to this?
You can calm my nerves about it.
You can try to calm your nerves.
As a former high school English teacher, I understand. You know, we worked with someone that helped us with the logo, and we were really focusing on the colors. Didn't catch the D. I have no problem changing it to a capital D if that's the, you know, keeping with the district, because we're really trying to be part of.
Or all capitals, whatever, just so that it's uniform throughout the district. That was all I.
How hard would that be to do?
You just take the little D and make it a big D.
Did anybody else bring it up, or is it just?
Sorry, Gary, you set yourself up. Mr. Knackstead, members of the board, first, these are all 3 coming to you for approval, so you would have to amend a motion to approve the 2. Then we would have to take the 1 back, and we would have to use an uppercase D. And I don't think that's an issue, but this is a board decision that you have to make, and it appears that this is not an issue from your understanding, but ultimately the school needs to weigh in on that because this was that committee process. So, understanding.
Everybody else love the codes. It's just that lowercase. Sorry.
You know, I hate to say this, but I think you're right.
No way. You didn't just say that.
Yeah, I think
So,
I agree.
Yeah, and I would tell you, members of the board, this was a decision that was made by that committee. This is what they recommended. However, point is valid, which is it is not consistent with other mascots. So board, you have final approval of that process, and that can go back to the committee for consideration. So,
I have a question.
Yes.
If that's what the committee brought to us, why are we changing?
I'm not changing anything.
Because the other schools have done it a different way.
Yeah.
Why?
So ultimately, in light of what Mrs. Alexander did share with the consistency of other schools and based on the feedback given, which is we didn't think about that as much as we tried to look at the colors and so forth. It didn't seem like it, I mean, they may come back and say, no, we'd like to keep that way, and then ultimately you would have to make that determination.
Throughout.
Or you
Logos
can.
are lowercase, but mascots are capitalized.
All the things we worry about.
Yeah.
Or if the board wants to move ahead, as is, board, this is your decision.
As a board, can we say we want it capitalized right now?
Well,
Without going to,
I've got a motion to approve for all 3.
yeah, no, but we're still in discussion, right?
Are we?
Yeah.
I thought we had a motion.
You have a motion.
My recommendation is you take it back to the committee for consideration. If it's a non-factor, then the committee can return. If they do have an issue with it, they have every right to explain their thinking to the board for that final decision. Or again, as Mr. Porter has pointed out, you can just move it
He has
ahead.
a motion on the floor, we have to ask him.
Is there a second?
You can die without a second.
I don't hear a second.
All right?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Turner Academy and Woodbridge Elementary School at this point and consider additions to the other school for their
Dorothy Mann.
Yeah. Okay, have a second? I'll second that.
So a vote yes for that would mean?
At this point, you are voting to approve Turner Academy, Woodbridge Elementary, and Dorothy Main will go back to the committee based on your...
Reconsideration.
Correct.
I just want to make sure that we as a board are not telling them what to do, we're
No.
asking them to reconsider.
You will not take the giant D right
We
there.
are telling them to reconsider.
Well,
Right. Okay, so let's, board vote this.
So we are telling them,
right, we're asking if they would like.
not asking, we're telling them.
They can come back to the same
Do you
thing.
believe we are telling them if we vote?
Let's go, let's go.
I'm waiting for board vote. We got a first and second.
That doesn't mean we have to stop
Board vote.
discussions.
Board vote.
You as board members can discuss it further if you so choose.
Are you connected?
Yeah, I'll call for the vote. Waiting for it. There it is.
So we are telling them.
To reconsider. They, give them the option to reconsider.
We have not made a motion on that, we just made a motion to approve Turner Academy
No,
And
That's not what it says
No,
on
that's
here.
not what we
Okay,
did.
so,
It's on here.
okay, Mr. Knackstead, members of the board, when Mr. Nava made a motion, it was to approve the two, and the exact language for reconsideration on the third had to do with the capitalization, sending it back to the committee for consideration. Is that correct?
Yes.
That will be what is put into the minutes.
Yes, and that's correct.
You might have clicked a button that, but the minutes will reflect that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so do we have Mr. Farrell?
I was
Oh, wait, okay.
analyzing.
Okay, that item passes 6 and 1 absent, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Wow. Of all the things that, where you go? Okay, item number 6, California School Employees Association reopeners for the 24-25 year already. Okay, here we go.
President,
Dr.
next
Dotson.
members of the board, Superintendent Young, before you are the California School Employees Association's reopeners for the 24-25 school year.
Okay. Any comment, any public comment?
Good evening, members of the board. Desiree Wise, CSEA. Let this just be an indication that we're ready to rock and roll and get down to business. So we expect to see your guys' stuff coming soon. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve.
I'm going to second that.
Okay, got first and second, board vote. And it passes 6-0 with 1 absent. Okay, and the last one is item number 7. This is a resolution 2024-64, ordering a school board election on November 5th, 2024, requesting consolidation of other measures occurring on November 5th, 2024, and authorizing necessary action in connection therewith. Mr. Khan.
Thank you very much. So I think the board is familiar with the item before it. The recommendation will be 212 million or whatever keeps the tax rolls level. The board did have some discussion at the last presentation. I do have disaggregated data on the 406 survey responses, if the board would like to hear it. The board may remember, there was approximately 105,000 outreaches from landline phones, to cell phones, to emails, and to texts. And there were 406 responses. So across party lines, it was fairly evenly split. Survey respondents from the Republican Party, about 38%, Democratic Party, 40%. All parties, except for minor parties, either informed that they would vote yes or that they would lean yes. gender breakdown was exactly equal 50-50. The age breakdown extremely equal except for 65 plus, which was the largest group. All other age demographics were about 14%. As to the homeownership demographic, only 23% of survey respondents were likely renters, and they leaned 72% yes on the bond. 50% of survey respondents were likely homeowners, and they leaned 64% toward the bond. About 65% of survey respondents either have a child currently in one of our schools, a grandchild currently in one of our schools, or one of the children has been through our schools and has graduated.
Mr. Khan, how much does this cost us?
Flip
this bond?
Let me quote exactly, it's about $373,000 to $478,000. The reason for that big spread is the registrar of voters informed us it could be between these two numbers, or it might be more. We'll let you know.
So $400,000 to flip the bond?
It could be higher than that, Mr. Knaxton. And that, none of this is a guarantee. The registrar of voters has withheld the option of charging more if they actually incur more costs.
Okay, any public comments before we go to board comments? No comments from the board?
Well, I think Mr. Khan has answered all the
Okay.
questions for the board. I move that we approve OA1-7.
We have a second?
I have a question before we
Sure.
go to second. I thought we were given choices at the last time. Different ways that we could float a bond, different values on the taxable rates. And one was a zero cost, one was $30, and one was $60 per 100,000. Now today we're being presented with what? $32 per 100,000, or?
If I may, I think there's a misunderstanding. So under Prop 39, relating to general obligation debt, not the Prop 39 related to light bulbs, and a unified school district can put to market bonds that will tax local homeowners up to $60 per 100,000 of home evaluation or net asset value. That is the maximum. If the board were an elementary school district or a high school district, that would be $30 per 100,000. So the cost of the transaction, the cost of putting this on the election ballot in November is what's going to be somewhere maybe under $500,000.
And Mr. Porter, can I answer your question directly?
Yes.
When we brought this to the board, the feedback we received, and I thought we received, is if, after the questions had been answered that were asked Mark, I can't remember his last name. Farrell. The interest, based on the survey result from the board, was not an interest in increasing the taxation of homeowners, but keeping it status quo as it is right now, which is the $212 million amount that we're talking about. So yes, there were levels shown to you based on the survey, but the feedback I thought we received was there wasn't an there wasn't an interest from the board through that process in increasing the amount, but keeping it as it is right now because of the bond that is going to fall off, and then this would take its place.
Now, that is information that I did not have when we had this discussion.
Okay.
And I feel this is just me. I'm sure other board members are better informed and more intelligent, but I don't feel the board has discussed this at all at any length. on how we're going about funding. Now, you told me that we're losing a bond. Is that correct?
Measure K.
Measure K falls off.
Measure K is gonna fall off. This needs to be voted on, and that'll just replace Measure K. So as far as the people that are paying property taxes, they'll see no change in their amount unless they purchase a new home or something like
So based on what falls off, and then this would take its place, it would stay at the same level.
that. And the other one's falling off at the end of this year.
I think the final payments are February 2026, if I'm not mistaken.
So that's 2 years, not
But
this year.
if I may, if the board does resolve to put a $212 million bond on the election ballot in November, not all 212 million is going to be sold at once.
I understand.
So as each year's worth of debt service peels off on Measure K, that can then be replaced immediately with the new measures.
Now, my last question, is there not a state referendum or bond measure to improve facilities for all schools in California?
That's, according to what I read today, it's unlikely. I know we're still in flux on the
But
on the
is there
budget.
not one that we're gonna vote
There, I don't know.
I don't know, Mr. Porter, specifically if
on? I
that is.
thought there was a bond issue being proposed about facilities.
According to what I read today, it's likely to cut in room floor.
I understand. Thank you for answering my question.
I have a motion on the floor, sir.
There was a motion on
Yeah, you do. Would you repeat your motion, please?
I move that we approve this item 08-1-7.
Okay, is there a second? A second? I think the motion's gonna fail for lack of a second. Okay. Is that the proper term? Motion
Without a
fails for lack
second,
of-
without a second motion,
Yeah.
that motion doesn't move forward. So just for informational purposes, with the timing of needing to share this information with the registrar of voters, this will not move forward.
Okay, we have some reports. Cerner Charter School annual update.
Thank you, President Knackstead, members of the board, Superintendent Young. It's our pleasure to present to you tonight the Joe Cerna Junior Charter Annual Report. For your review, you have received the report. Within the report, there's information regarding student attendance data and suspension data, state and local academic data, financial report, and focus areas. At this time, I would like to introduce Principal Alejandra Estrada, who will go over some of the highlights that she and her staff have done.
Thank you. Good evening, President Knaxton, Superintendent Young, and members of the board. So some of the highlights that we have in regards to Cerna, says you have access to the PowerPoints and everything that we've done, and as Mr. Lambert has shared. So the highlights we have on some of the focus areas, which include improving our dual language program, and some of this will also have the CSEA implementation at our school, basing it on staffing needs, team building, budget reviews with the district, and dual language professional development. And, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see the slides were up top. So on slide 3, you can see the percentages of the increase in our attendance and decrease in suspension rates. We're continuing on a positive note as we still are 0 at expulsion rate at our school.
Good.
On slide 4, you can see that there are percentage increases in English language arts and math and our English learner reclassification rates. On slide 5, the slide will review what was planned and our total expenditures with our estimated savings due to a constant review of our budget to manage the cost where it's all possible. And so then in review of the highlights there, these are all the focus areas for our school for this upcoming school year. And the top ones to really wanted to highlight was just the CSEA implementation, which some our staffing needs, our team building, and also just budget reviews with the district so that our, and then continuing our dual language professional development.
Right. Any comments? Board comments?
I'd just like to quickly thank you for letting Mr. Straw and I be a part of those meetings. You do an excellent job at Joe Cerna Junior Charter, and thank you for your report.
And I'd also like to thank you personally, because I've had close ties with Joe Cerna for over 20 years now. It seems like a long time, so, and I like the direction this is going right now. Thank you. And your staff, all of them.
Couldn't do it without my amazing staff. Thank you.
Any other comments? I'm sorry, I didn't ask for public comment. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next report is the 24-25 school site comprehensive support and improvement and additional targeted support improvement, ATSI plans. Dr. Solly.
Thank you, President Knackstead, members of the board, and Superintendent Young. Actually, the next several reports are somewhat related. The first one, CSI and ATSI. Several schools are identified based upon dashboard results, California dashboard results, as not having success. It could be in English language arts or math. It could be overall score. It could be disparity amongst certain demographic groups. It could also be chronic absenteeism, suspension, English learner, or graduate. And it happens that roughly 75% of these are actually Title I schools. So we've had Kelly Collins to my left and Jamie Kite-Polinsky, who are our Title I coordinators, work with these schools also to make sure that their ATSI and CSI plans align with and complement their Title I plans, which is the next item on the agenda. But so these initial schools here, I think there's 30 if I'm not mistaken, are in response to the dashboard results, and we do work with the County Office of Education as per CDE guidance to help recover or improve those areas where each individual school may be suffering. And depending upon the school, it could be one, could be two, depends upon school site. So that's the summation of the ASTIs due to results on California dashboard.
Any comments? Public comments? Board comments? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the Title I plan, obviously Title I based upon income status of the schools, the demographics. And again, Kelly Collins and Jamie Kite-Polinsky, our Title I coordinators, work with the school sites and their school site leadership teams to allocate their Title I funds appropriately to meet the needs of their students.
Okay, any comments? Okay, I don't hear any public comment. I think that's it then.
Okay, thank you. One more.
One more? Okay.
There is, Title I does require parent and family engagement, and there is allocation of funds for that need and that service. And so this section is where each school site has prepared a plan to engage their parents and families and how they will use those funds from their Title I allocation.
Comments? Public comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And these will come back in 2 weeks for
Okay.
actual up-down vote. And the last one, under my name, Prop 28, Each year, school sites are to submit a Prop 28 plan. Discussed this a little bit in the past. The challenges with Prop 28 are it's 80% required to have staffing and 20% for other things, which we'd love to have the ability to hire 40 to 50 arts teachers if we could locate them. It's a statewide challenge. The state potentially could hire 7,000 to 8,000 arts teachers, but we're not turning out that many arts teachers, unfortunately. So the sites are still planning to utilize as best they can the 20%, and while still looking for a staff member if they can obtain one. So what I have done also subsequent to this is there has been a waiver released by the CDE about a month and a half ago, and I requested on behalf of the district a waiver of that 80% requirement until such time as we can hire the staff. That would free the schools up to use more than their 20% allocation for other arts materials. So these are the plans the sites have put together.
Okay. Any comments? Yeah.
Hi, Anne Garcia. I have a question. We have money at Julia Morgan, and we had difficulty hiring. We had a retired teacher that was interested in providing education for our students, and we had a difficult time doing that. And I think part of it is because our principal was new and it had started the year before. But I was wondering if that could be clarified to administrators so we could get people signed up early and get going, because our kids missed out on stuff because we didn't. It was just a frustrating process, and I hope he's not listening, but it was a frustrating process for him and for the person that we had reached out to, and our kids would have had an amazing opportunity. So hopefully we could get that more smooth so that we could get more people that not necessarily, we were told it had to be a Lodi employee, and that person wasn't a Lodi employee, but it didn't make sense because other people were hiring artists in residence and stuff like that, and they're not Lodi employees, so it wasn't clear. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Thank you. Thank you. What's up? What's the next thing here? Victor Elementary School, there's the support block. Mr. Lambert.
Again, good evening, President Knackstead, members of the board, Superintendent Young. It's our pleasure to tonight review with you the slide presentation that you have before you and the highlights of the Victor Elementary School Early Literacy Support Block Grant. I have with me this evening members of the staff from Victor Elementary School, and I'd like to introduce Principal Alberto Velarte, who will give some highlights.
Well, thank you, Mr. Lambert, for the introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We had a good, successful academic year at Victor Elementary School. You have some of the data in front of you that highlights our achievements. Our success, really, I think the bottom line was that we had great professional development and ongoing training support from our school district, SCOE, Sacramento Office of Education, and core literacy coaches. That made a big difference. Also, our school lead teacher, who is Lorelai Manozero, I brought her here because she's a mega star in our school. She was one of the key factors in our success. And you gotta look at her data. Look at her data, her classroom data. Mrs. Manozero mentored new teachers, and she conducted after-school training for primary school teachers. Our teachers targeted students who needed extra support. So we were able to identify and target those students after school, work with the Bridge program, and make sure that we provided that extra support. But before we get into details, let me introduce to you Mrs. Manozero.
Hello, good evening. I'm Lorelai Manozero, secondary teacher at Victor Elementary School. I've been fortunate to have been one of the original members of the ELSB grant team during the entire process.
We began the grant in 2020 during distance learning, but we actually use this time to map out the grant and the 4-year implementation process. Teachers and admins have participated in monthly SIPS training, statewide grant planning meetings that were provided by SCOE, the Sacramento County Office of Ed, and CORE. Upon returning to in-person learning, we were able to implement a full-time SIPS intervention teacher, as well as SIPS being implemented in the K-3 classrooms. The intervention teacher that we had transitioned to part-time in year 3, and the ultimate goal of the grant was to move towards self-sustainability with SIPS instruction solely in the classroom by year 4, which was this past school year. We did achieve this process, and we saw notable student improvement throughout the entire 4-year process. We do still have a need for SIPS support, and we're looking forward to having a part-time district SIPS TOSA teacher next year, next school year, to continue literacy, growth, and maintain consistent SIPS instruction in the classrooms, as well as the continuing the valuable support from our core consultants. Thank you, board members and Superintendent Young, for allowing me to share these updates with you. And I'm just a side note, my 2nd grade class, as you know, Victor's a small school. It was the largest sample group. I had 24 students. I had to overflow many. I had many students that were youngest siblings, because I have been at Victor for 10 years now. Before that, 10 years at Heritage, and before that, Beckman. And I was a student of Lodi Unified. So just a side note, my group was the biggest group. I had 24 students, and I'm just so proud of their growth. They really became readers. They love reading. They're excited to read. They worked with me in the after-school program, and they actually, when they would finish their homework, they wanted to read more books and take more reading counts quizzes. That's how excited about reading they were. And I think that is the ultimate reward for a teacher, when you see that they're independently motivated and driven, and they want to learn, and they just want books in their hands, and they love reading. And then, of course, you know, our other groups, being a small school, we had a K-1 combo. So when you look at their data, please take that into consideration. We had 10 kindergartners, 11 first graders, and they worked together. And that was, as we know, combos are a little bit of a challenge in themselves. My students have been pretty permanent. They've been Victor students since kindergarten. So I feel like they really benefited the most, because they had SIPS instruction in a regular kindergarten classroom, in a regular first grade classroom, in 2nd grade. So I think that also shows in the results that I had. And then our 3rd grade group is pretty small with 16, but they've come a long way as well. So thank you for taking the time to let me share that with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any comments from public? Any public comments? Board comments?
Yeah, I have a question. You know, you talk about reading. All your 2nd graders are readers?
All of them, yes. Even the struggling, even the SDC students that I have that have learning disabilities, they love it. They love reading. They want to read. They want to come to me with their little SIP stories and read to me after school. They want me to sign their reading logs. They get so excited when I read to them, when they read to me. They just love the whole process, and it's neat to see those little light bulbs go on in their head. You know, and they love going to library, and they ask the librarian for books by certain authors or a little series that we start reading. Yeah, even the struggling readers. And I really try to build that in my classroom, that reading levels is like shoe sizes. I tell my students that. It's like a shoe size. It doesn't matter what your friend is doing. It's like shoes. Does it matter what size we have? No. We're all different, and that's okay. And so they really have that understanding, and they cheer each other on when they make improvements on their Lexile scores. And they say, hey, wow, that's really amazing. You know, that kid's reading at 700. You know, but hey, I'm glad I went from 300 to 400, or from BR to 100, or, you know, whatever little step up. They recognize that, and they get excited, and it's neat to see that in our young students.
So they come from actually the lower level grades as readers at the second grade level?
We do.
From kindergarten to first grade, and what methods are they doing for teaching these kids how to read?
So we have Of course, our core curriculum journeys. There's so many materials in there that are helpful for all students to provide that universal access is so key. Then SIPS is also another layer for intervention for those kids who are having a hard time with basic phonics and phonemes and blending and high frequency words, and their fluency is lacking and all those things. So it's a very systematic, explicit instruction that helps them become readers and have those keys, those little building blocks to start with to become readers and to continue on. So it's a complicated process. As we know, reading involves so many things, but those are the two keys. And having that consistency every day. They need that instruction every day. And they enjoy it. We make learning fun. That's our job, right?
Sure. Then your readers have a high percentage of comprehension then.
Absolutely, and our assessment is the Dibbles test, and there is a comprehension component as well. So there's fluency, there's basic decoding, phonemes, things like that, high frequency words, but there is a comprehension component, yes.
I'm excited about youngsters that can read at the second grade level.
Me too.
It's a bonus, you
Yes,
know.
yes, it's my passion, I love it.
It has to have a passion for teaching those kids how to do that, regardless how many you have.
Yes, yes.
That's a very important process.
Yeah, we had a
Yes, sir.
big group, but a great group.
Mr. Nawa, just to let you know, in the beginning of the school year, 50% of our kiddos were reading at grade level. At the end of the school year, based on Dibbles results, we had 74% of our kids read, not only maintained, but increased to 74%.
Nice. 74 at grade level or higher. So 74%.
Yeah, just real quick, I just want to say your enthusiasm shines through, and I come from a family of readers and for generations, so you're doing a great job. I mean, and it really shining through. You're
Thank
smiling
you
right
so
now,
much.
so-
I just, when I think about my kiddos and how far they've come, it just makes my heart so happy, because I always tell the kids in my class and the parents, I tell them reading is the key that unlocks every door to every subject. If you want to make a recipe or follow a recipe, you have to read. If you want to learn a new game, you've got to read the directions, right? So, you know, you want to do the word problems in iReady, you better be able to read them. So reading is so important, and I'm really excited. Next year I will be one of the TOSAs at Victor and Heritage, and I'm super excited to help the staff and students continue to develop their literacy and SIPs. So I'm excited.
Very nice,
One
very
more
nice.
thing, one more thing. You talk about people that know how to read, of course, you use reading and mathematics and all the other core subjects. How are they doing in the math?
They are doing good. We do need, I think, well, the thing is when you change curriculums, you know, it takes a little while for them to latch onto those new strategies. So in math, they're doing very good. We've seen tremendous growth as well, and especially if there's that reading component, because being able to read those word problems, even by second grade, they're 3-4 sentences long. You know, and they do get a little help with the audio assistance on their assessments. However, I do teach them that it is important to read those. So I encourage them to read them with me, read them to me, read them together, and then we work on the steps of solving the problem. And they're doing really well in math. Now, as we know, iReady is very complex, and sometimes there's multi-step problems or different ways to explain your thinking or different ways to understand the problems. So we're developing more of those thinking strategies. I think that's one of the areas of need that I've seen. But as far as reading those problems, I feel like they are very strong in that, and they get excited about reading those problems. They like finding that sometimes we found our other students' names in the problems, and they get excited and they think I wrote it in there, but I tell them, no, I didn't write the book. It's just a coincidence, you know? But absolutely, reading is the key for math as well.
You know, we talk about improvement in, of course, reading and math and all the other core subjects. It's very important that they grasp this and grab the knowledge, and my gosh, when they go to the next level, it's so easy for the teachers to actually teach them other things instead of just trying to struggle with the reading part of it.
Absolutely.
I know it's a very difficult job. Elementary school teachers have a difficult job. I mean, you're constantly doing something. I've observed something, and I go, as a former teacher, I would have a problem doing that because it takes a lot of energy to do that.
It
Yeah,
does,
thank
yeah.
you.
Handling all subjects, but it's our
Yes.
passion. I love it. It's my I think I just finished my 21st year in the district, and I love it. I love seeing our students grow and achieve new things. And I always tell them, reading will take you places you've never been. So that's the key. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Well, thank you very much. I particularly like the shoe size technique. That was
Yes.
kind of
thank
clever.
you. I like analogies.
All right, moving on.
Thank you.
Mr. Young, Fiscal Services and Operations Department, proposed reorganization.
Yes, with the retirement of Mr. Khan, we looked at splitting up the operations department and the fiscal services department. And at that time, we talked about bringing back a reorganization since we're going to have two separate departments. And so with me this evening are the executive directors as of July 1st, the executive director of operations and the executive director of fiscal services. And so they're bringing before you tonight a report looking at the proposed reorganization of each of those departments. So I'll let them take it from here.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Young. Good evening, President Connexted, members of the board. Tonight before you is the proposed fiscal services and operations department reorganizations. Next slide, please. As we previously outlined in the business services reorganization that was presented back in February 6th of 2024, the executive directors, myself, and this is Edith Holbert, are proposing a reorganization of the fiscal services and operations departments. The plan aims to improve services, improve efficiency, enhance support, and also promote flexibility by optimizing resources across the departments.
I will take it away. Thank you. Good evening, President Connexted, members of the board, Superintendent Young. So to carry on, this reorganization, first and foremost, will result in no reductions of current staff. All positions upgrades will be posted to internal staff members only. There will be a reduction of 1 administrator FTE. There shows a reduction in 1.18 CSCA FTE. However, I would like to note that in an upcoming board meeting, there will be a proposed nutrition services reorganization plan that will result in an overall increase of CSCA members if adopted. For the past 3 years, the nutrition services is Fund 13. They've been carrying an excessive revenue limit balance, so they're looking to reinvest that, and that's one aim that their proposed reorganization will accomplish. So finally, I'd like to point out that this reorganization realizes a savings. That was one of the goals that was presented to us previously of $88,019. I know you've had an opportunity to look at the detailed slides, so we now open it up if you have any questions.
Okay, board, any questions? Any comments?
I have some questions.
Yes. Rock and roll.
Hi, thank you. Just to help me understand, what do our supervisors do? And if we have supervisors, why are we hiring leads or creating lead positions?
One of the main goals for the lead positions was to help deal with the increased inspection certification standards and to adhere to the local and state federal laws to help take some of that load off of both either a supervisor or a staff member underneath. in multiple areas. We have lead electricians, we have lead groundkeepers, and we don't have leads in HVAC and plumbing.
So we're reducing the workload of the supervisor and increasing the workload of the lead, is that it? That's what you just said.
Yes,
So are they doing cut and pack?
the supervisors, no.
Or they're doing less work?
No, they're not doing less work.
Well, you said that they would reduce their workload.
I misspoke.
Okay, let's take it back.
There is workload that will continue for the supervisors.
Okay.
Some of this workload specifically pertaining to the inspections, certifications, and standards the lead positions could help with.
Now, so that's why we're increasing our number of leads then, is to help the supervisors. My other question revolves around technology.
Yes.
Are we asking more of our librarian technicians with the Chromebooks in what you're doing now? Are we increasing their workload?
As far as the technical component, no. When the district
How
implemented,
about servicing them?
as far as servicing them, no.
Well then, who is handling all the Chromebooks that are at each school that are a little bit faulty or not working correctly? When they come back to the library?
If they come back to the library, then the librarians or the instructional media assistants then send them into technology for repair. We have given them options of things that they could try, such as the power wash option, but they don't have to. We're not requiring them to.
So we're not increasing their workload, that's what you're telling me right now.
From the technical component, no.
What, okay, I think we're dancing words here. Are they doing more work now because of the reorganization?
Because of the reorganization, no.
That's all the questions that I have.
Okay.
So,
Okay, thank you.
that's not.
Okay, any other board questions? Comments from the public? I tend to forget that.
Can I just go first?
Good evening, members of the board. Mr. Young, Desiree Wise, CSEA. To answer your question, Mr. Porter, yes. The PC support tech that you see listed, let me get to the right page, is a position that has been vacant since 2022. I was told that it was an oversight. They didn't know that that position was vacant. And yes, our library media people, their jobs have increased because we have a vacant PC support tech. They're actually being asked, not as an option, it's been required, that they fix the Chromebooks when they are inoperable at a school site. Not only that, but they've also become the resource person for teachers when they have equipment that's down in their classroom. If I could, I just kind of want to take a second to go kind of department by department, because I do have some questions. I know I did briefly meet with Ms. Suarez and Ms. Holbert on Thursday. Wasn't enough time to digest it and ask my questions. So the first thing is the downgrading of the senior controller. I believe that person was announced tonight, so I'm not sure why that's included in the reorg, because you've already received authorization to downgrade that position. The other thing is the senior budget analyst. I did request job description, so I feel like we don't have the whole package. I'm not quite sure what a senior budget analyst is going to do that the current analyst can't do, and that's an increase of $15,000. If you work anywhere remotely close with accounting or business services over there, you know that accounting is drowning. So we're going to eliminate a supervisor because they're drowning. We have an account tech that just did 500 PRFs to change funding for positions from ESSER to other funds. So we also have a budget tech here. I don't know why that's part of a reorg, because we change funding all the time for positions. So that's in there. So those are all my concerns for that area. And payroll, like Ms. Holbert pointed out, that they are eliminating classified positions. And we have 2 current payroll positions that have been vacant since October. All the while, teachers are trying to get retros and everything else, and we don't even have the staff to do that. So I'm not sure why we're upgrading current positions and then omitting the previous position. Because according to our CBA, we eliminate positions due to lack of work or funds. And I don't think there's lack of work or funds in payroll. The other thing is purchasing and risk management. I didn't hear them speak about getting rid of Director 1s, 2s, and 3s and going back to our previous model. And with their proposal with risk management, we're going to give a director a $32,000 a year raise to take on a department of 3 people that has a supervisor. I know I'm out of my time. I usually don't talk a lot, but I have a lot to say. Questions and concerns. And if you look at the dollar amounts on the mathematical portion, it seems as though there's a savings in maintenance and facilities, but it's costing the district money to eliminate classified positions and upgrade others in business services, costing them $84,000. In facilities, yes, Ms. Holbert did say that the leads would be helping the supervisors. I do know that that's some of the work that the leads previously did that the supervisors took on when we lost the leads during budget crunches. I will point out, adding the irrigation specialist to the M3, we have an M2 helping our irrigation person right now. So that's not really doing anything for irrigation because there's still 2 people doing it. The only positive thing is we're adding an F&P tech. We're not taking anything away from there. If you're trying to pass a bond, you're going to need some facilities people. Upgrading our painters to M3s, they've been trying a long time to get an upgrade in their pay. I don't know what upgrade means because we don't have upgrading in our CBA, but it's called reclassification. And then once again, if you get a lead, you're gonna lose a worker bee. And those worker bees and those M2s that you see, eliminating 2 M2s, those are your worker bees that come and save the day. They're the ones putting up chairs for graduation and everything else. And eliminating a groundskeeper, I don't know how that's possible because we just gave additional groundskeeping FTE and LCAP. So I'm not quite sure where that 0.18 comes from. The other thing I'd like to talk about is a lead electrician and the M2 coming from technology. So we have risk management coming over to purchasing for, what did I say? $30-something thousand raise. And M&O is going to get a whole new department. I don't know if that was clearly explained. But the lead electrician who currently works in technology along with his M2 that does all the wiring is coming to M&O. So that's a brand new department to M&O. I'm almost done. The other thing I already talked about the PC support tech. The other thing I really wasn't clear on is the upgrading of the job descriptions. Under technology, it says upgrade job description for network and system supervisor to include cybersecurity focus. And then it says instructional support supervisor. Which position is that?
Go ahead.
It's a support desk supervisor. We know them as the support desk supervisor, but officially their title is instructional support supervisor. They handle more than just instructional.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was ed services because it said instructional or exactly what that was. All right, thank you. And my other question is flowcharts. If this is a reorg, where's the flowchart so we can see exactly who's reporting to who? Because like the plumbers, there's only 3 plumbers, so I'm not sure why we need a lead to lead 2 other people. Well, yeah. And like I said, I mean, if you look at the math on the slide, M&O and facilities are really getting the crappy end of the stick to fund a department where we're taking away classified positions. So if you ask us, I have spoken to some of the people in positions that this involves, they're really not in favor of it. And you're trying to show us savings from M&O and F&P, and most of their funds are RRM, and you can't use RRM to fund accounting people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Desiree Wise made a lot of the points that I was going to make. We have issues right now with maintaining our facilities as it is. And I understand that when we created 2 senior director positions, that we added a lot to our annual budget to split Mr. Khan's position. I get that, okay? And so this is an attempt, in my view, to somehow make up for 2 people getting huge raises. And now, that was my other question, is that I looked at this purchasing and risk management. We already have a director or a supervisor in risk management. So we're adding $33,000 to somebody's salary. I don't get that. It seems to me again that there's going to be a really top-heavy, highly paid people in the district office, but the people who actually do the work, our facilities and our maintenance people, are getting the short end of the stick. That work has to be done. So yeah, let's eliminate the people on the bottom who actually do the work on the sites, supporting the students, so we can have more higher paid people in the district office. It does not make sense to me. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, all right. Thank you, folks, for your information. Appreciate it. Okay, do we have any board advisory committee reports at this point? Probably not. Superintendent's report then.
Yeah, Mr. Connexted, members of the board, since this is the last meeting, they will be in attendance. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to both Dr. Robert Solly, Associate Superintendent of Educational Services, and Mr. Leonard Kahn, CBO, for their services to the Lodi Unified School District. During his time in Lodi Unified, Dr. Solly has served in both curriculum and instruction, and now is the Associate Superintendent of Ed Services. I think it's fair to say, by those who work with him, that his open door policy, always prioritizing people over tasks, will be a lasting legacy as he heads into retirement. The second floor will miss his bellowing laugh that permeates through the air ducts into our offices, and I personally owe a debt of gratitude for his willingness to take the helm of Ed Services Department at a time of huge transition. We also leave a huge void with the retirement of Leonard Kahn, who played a key role through the pandemic, was instrumental in supporting our bond measures, and was key to keeping our fiscal house in order through the uncertainty of 2020 and the years that followed. Leonard had a unique perspective on the greater economic picture because of his time on Wall Street, but also developed leaders within the business services department, often referred to as a savant for his knowledge and understanding of the many aspects of the business of the district. His expertise will be missed. Congratulations to you both. In my head, I'm saying something different, but congratulations to you both as you exit the hot seat of public board meetings and enter the world of retirement. I have nothing further.
All right, any board comments?
Yes, I'd just like to actually congratulate Mr. Sally. I know he's got some family that he's going to spend some time with, and he's going to Minnesota. We had a little conversation, going to Minnesota and spend some time there with other people that he knows. Leonard, don't get injured on the slopes. You know, I actually went to school in Colorado for 5 years, so I know the situation where you're going, and skiing is great there. And I understand that you love the skiing, and again, I remember when I was a member of the interview committee and interviewed you, and we were so fortunate to hire you and actually do the job that you've done for this district. Thank you.
All right.
I just would like to thank you both. You've been a beacon of light and knowledge for board members and the district as a whole, so thank you both. I also wanted to make a quick comment about all the graduations many of us attended. new principals, returning principals did a fantastic job. Students were well behaved. It was quite enjoyable. Glad it's over though.
Dr. Sully, thank you for your professionalism. Mr. Khan, hope your couch is big enough for me when I come to go circus skiing. I'll be taking your phone number.
I'll be joining you too.
Stroh and I'll show up in our little dune buggies and we'll be eating your food and drinking your beer and having a good time. But enjoy.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Just for the whole meeting?
yeah.
Okay, well, guys, I was. Okay, well, I'd like to thank both of you guys for your service. I'm pretty new here, so it's kind of newer to me. I was retired for a while. I guess I still officially am,
Yeah.
but thanks for all your efforts and everything. And, thank you. And enjoy the skiing and family, so.
Dr. Solly, Robert, I want to thank you for, I first met you when you were working with TIP and you walked in and you commanded a room. I just have to tell you that, and I just was very impressed with you from the beginning. So thank you for coming in, smiling, and making us all feel like, wow, we're so excited. I wish you well, and retirement's awesome. Congratulations. Mr. Khan, I have called you the pharaoh of finance, the monarch of money, but I think I finally hit it big when I call you the cashinator.
Oh, God, that's awful.
I have several other ones that I've sent along the way, but those are the three that stick with me. So thank you for your expertise and for taking the time with me, hours and hours, to answer emails and to sit down with me for hours and hours, helping me understand something that we have no idea what goes on in this bubble. So thank you, and I wish you and your family well, because yay.
In fact, both of you guys, retirement's not bad. It's not bad at all. Now, I remember when we hired Leonard, I mentioned that there's a big difference between 60 and 70 and what you think your body wants to do. And so kind of keep that in mind and don't put anything off. Go for it. Do it. Have fun. And what was that savant thing you were talking about? Did you forget the idiot part of it, or what was it?
Remember that part where I said there's things I keep in my head?
Okay. Thanks, guys. I mean, your service here has been invaluable. I really appreciate it. Anything else? Are we done for the night?
Comments?
Okay. I needed a motion.
No, we haven't done board comments.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Is there any other board? That was just for you guys. Any other board comments?
I have some board comments.
Okay.
I have some concerns. Tonight was, I guess it was disturbing for me. I just received a text message from two people I know very well. One of them is a doctor, former superintendent, and he leads professional PLCs. And the question to me was, can you tell us about the book review committee? They're in my district. I am a trustee. They are my constituent. And I don't know what to tell them. I have no idea what to tell them because something happened that I wasn't informed of. And I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody else, but I am in a position where I've been elected by the people. These are constituents, educated, and they want to know about this book review committee. And to get slammed with that today, without any prior knowledge, and without any idea of how it was being formed, and without any idea of who was applying, without anything at all, I find very disturbing. And communications board transparency is really important. And that is what happened today as far as banning 2 books, especially 2 books to people of color, as most of the banned books tend to be, whether that or they are about a different lifestyle, is really out of line. And we don't include our librarians. Then why have them? They're professionals. They don't include our AP teachers. Why have them? They know all about literature, what to use in their classroom or not. Let them be professionals. This committee, which I have to answer to, because these people help me with my campaign, they're going to look at me and ask, why don't you know? So I just want you to sit in. The reorganizations, we've done reorgs, but yet we still don't have enough custodians. We still don't have bus drivers. We're still not taking care of our facilities. So why are we doing all this reorganization? We're not getting things done at the ground level. We don't have enough teachers. We're leaving positions open for 2 months. They don't even look at EdJoin to open them up. It's been, for me, today has been not a good day. And I feel like I've been left out of a lot of information which I really struggle with. Because I'm supposedly represent the largest district, the largest number of people in our Lodi Unified School District. And to have 2 people that worked in my campaign ask me a question that I cannot answer, that I should. It is sad. Those are my comments for this evening.
Okay, any other comments?
Yeah.
Yeah, sir.
I'm going to have to piggyback right on with Mr. Porter here. I think the word's gobsmacked about this book review committee, and people that, friends and and just constituents have also contacted me, and I'm saying, I don't know. And I know, and I've been out of the country for a couple of weeks on vacation, or almost. So when I came back and then had to take care of some family stuff, and so this hits me, and then finding out that librarians aren't on it, and that's why our district's paying them. I thought, study books. I don't think my opinion's better than anybody else's opinion, and I thought there was already pretty good safeguards within the district if a parent didn't want their child to read a certain book. So transparency and communication, I think, super important, and I felt with this thing there wasn't transparency or communication. And I don't really know what to say. I'm kind of that. But other than that, I'm just kind of sorry I missed a lot of the graduations because I was gone, but I did make it to Joe Serna's, and it was really nice. So those are my comments.
You know, Mr. Porter, Mr. Stroll, you are absolutely right. This is the first time as a board member I have no knowledge of book selection, the committee. Generally, they were included in the committee or were notified, and you have a date open if board members want to attend, but this year I never heard of anything. Can you elaborate on that, Mr. Young?
Sure, what specifically would you like me to elaborate on?
Well, the board is awareness of what people are doing with books. So I have asked all the board members in here.
Yeah, sure, I can just share this. Constituents this spring have put in the constituent complaint regarding resources. And looking at the rule, a committee was put together today. Dr. Solly would be able to speak more to that than I would. I know an email was sent to board members, just kind of laying out what happened today, where the next steps are. I can also share with you that based on the feedback we've received and input we've gotten, that we're actually going in a direction for 24-25 where, and this is with input from librarians, this is input from other people, that essentially a parent, like they do in other areas with data confirmation, they can, if they don't want adult themed content, they can opt their child out of it. And that's the direction we are going, moving forward, based on that input. I've heard a lot of things about what has been banned, who was a part of the committee today. And I'm not going to name every single person on that committee, but we did follow. Okay. So what I can say is, okay, to answer your question, the committee was made up based on what's in the rule, administrators from both Area 1 Area 2. It had teachers from Area 1, Area 2, so administrators, teachers. There was a librarian there in that advisory role from one of the high schools. And that committee met today. Of the 3 books that were looked at, there was a split vote on one because someone needed to be recused from that process. And did I say there's a parent from each side. There was Area 1 and Area 2. So there was a 3-3 on that one. There was another one, there was consensus on 6-1. And then there was another one that, Mr. Solly, what was, Dr. Solly, the third one? 7-0, but that had to do with which grade levels was appropriate for that book. It was not to remove it. But I want to be clear at this point, and I've heard a lot of things from a lot of people out there, and I've heard things going on, and I heard the public comments. The committee wants to be able to read the books in their entirety, which we want them to do, and they will reconvene in August. But at this point, the direction we are going is that an individual parent for their child can opt their child out of adult-themed books, okay? That is the key piece of it. That's different than a parent choosing whether or not someone else's children have the opportunity to read a book or not. And that was based on the input of librarians, and including their input in that. That will be part of the data confirmation process, the goal of which is to get away from what falls in the 1.1312.2, which has to do with constituent complaints regarding the, curricular resources, including library books, okay? So again, I've heard that we have banned books. We have not, okay? What I'm telling you is they will be reading the books in their entirety, but the direction we're going is that an individual parent can opt their child out because of the input we received, and that will be part of the data confirmation process. I clearly am hearing from the board that they would have liked to know the committee in advance of that committee meeting, but again, our ultimate goal is to get to a place where for the reading lists for grade levels, the teachers are giving the input on what is going into those books. It's a collective process, as it's been since the book list was put in place in 2009. As far as what's in a library, a parent can opt their kids out of, for their own child, no one else's children, those resources. And I've said when I met with constituents who came to the superintendent's coffees, I can tell you right now that I don't believe books jump off shelves and chase children down and force them to read them. That I don't believe. And I think ultimately this is the real solution, which is if you're the parent of a child, you are a part of the process for your child. And that's the direction we are going. But again, the rule that's in place, which is the administrative regulation, it's not the policy, it's the rule. That's what's in place. And as far as the exhibit, and that's the complaint form, this is all in the board policies and the rules, and the exhibit exists there. So, go ahead.
But as Ms. Castle brought up about agendizing, making it public notice, letting not just us know, but the employees of the district, people who maybe wanted to sit on that committee. Rumor mill, I only believe part of it. But when you hear that perhaps somebody is sitting on the committee that actually complained or put in a complaint, that's not okay to be sitting on a committee. I've written a formal complaint, now that's like being judge and jury all at the same time, and lawyer.
They did not get to be part of the jury.
So
that they have to recuse themselves in the end. They don't get to make a decision. That is one member of the bigger group. I will say this, when I look at the administrative regulation, the rule, I did not see in there that it is a public agendized meeting. I was looking at Palo Alto's as well. I went in there and I looked at theirs, very similar to ours. It's a process that the superintendent or designee determines to pull together a committee. I didn't see that as the same as a public board meeting and the Brown Act requirements of a public board meeting. However, I am more than happy to go back and look at that process and determine if what we did was out of compliance with the law, but that was not the intention. It was to have that committee review it, but this was a first time we have put a committee like that together, and we're not done with that process, and we're not done with how it may sound simple, but it's really not that simple.
And 2 middle school teachers, wasn't it supposed to be high school and elementary?
We did have books that are not just high school. They also go all the way, one of them in particular is all the way down in elementary schools. So part of it is, yes, we had single subject teachers, one from area 1 and area 2. They were not a high school teacher, correct, but they were middle school teachers.
And a subject area coach, that would be appropriate.
I can't speak to how we ended up with the coach that we ended up with, but I can just tell you the committee was pulled together. They looked at it. We had, we had a director who was the facilitator of that, and we tried to follow the rule as it was put in place. But at this point, there's no firm decisions other than the committee will be reading the books in their entirety, not just excerpts from a book. And that's what they wanted to be able to do. So we are going to encourage that process so they can see it, so they understand it in the bigger context as well.
And I, as a board member, I would really, for future reference, I would like to know what committees are out there, because I am appalled, mortified, that Lodi is gonna get known for banning books, and we're gonna I get that whole lens, but I feel like as a board member, what Mr. Porter said about, I'm getting my phone blown up too, and I can't say, hey, because I don't know. And I've told you this before, I don't want to be hearing, I want to hear everything from you first about what's happening here, so that we all have each other's backs throughout this. And
I understand that clearly.
I don't feel that we're a part of this.
Okay.
Boy, that hits hard.
I understand the process that you talked about, Mr. Young, but why wasn't the board notified of this committee? Generally, they're notified, and I'm aware of it. I've been aware of it. I've been here for 16 years, and every year I know that I'm involved with it, whether I want to go or not, or make some comments. They made some comments, I was just like...
Yeah, I'm crystal clear that the board is unhappy with how this occurred, and I need to respond to that, and I need to make changes to ensure that you are aware of those types of things.
Well, yeah, I still don't get, the books aren't banned.
I want to make this crystal clear.
I know, that's what I want to say.
And people keep telling me what I directed, but I'm just telling you, no books are banned at this point.
Okay.
Okay? We are not in the business of banning books.
Okay.
And there's a belief that this process is about my desire to ban books.
Because I think I should read those books too before I comment on it.
Well, I am trying to follow your rules, and I am trying to adhere to the policy, the rule of the exhibit, and the process. It's been clear from the beginning. In the end, if at the end of the process there's an interest in having the board make the final determination, that is absolutely, that's built into your rule from a constituent making a complaint. But there's a process along the way, from the very beginning, librarian determining, well, this may not be appropriate for kids who are less than 18, and they make those decisions. Or it goes to the principal and the librarian looking specifically, or if it doesn't have to do with the librarian, but it has to do with the literature in an English class or another class, there's a process there. Ultimately, if it's not resolved at that level, those are the steps along the way that are built into the rule itself.
Okay, there's some holes here.
Okay.
Why was there a vote? I'm sorry, please, this is a conversation. Why was there a vote?
Because they did today look at it, and they did make a vote.
You're saying no books have been banned, why vote?
Well, they started with a vote. We had a conversation based on the fact that they all wanted to read the book in its entirety. We held that and said, then they read it in entirety and they will come back together in August. So what I'm telling you as a superintendent, the books are not at this point removed because they're going to read them in their entirety. I mean, Dr. Solly, am I saying anything that is inaccurate?
No, there was a vote to a preliminary read, and they hadn't had the chance to read fully the book.
There's a preliminary vote to read the book. Is that correct?
You voted to read a book.
After much discussion, there was some discussion about they would have liked to have had the opportunity to read the entire book.
After they voted?
I don't know if it was before or after they voted.
Okay. My second thing is do we have board policy on this? I thought we were reviewing it. Wasn't that board policy tabled?
No.
We have voted on that?
Okay.
No, we have board policy regarding materials. I'm asking you, we brought up the question about you have a designee and all that, and maybe we should have more people involved, and we never really took a vote on resources.
Okay.
And making that decision. Is that correct or not? We have a board policy on this.
Okay. There is a policy, there is a rule, and there is an exhibit. The policy you vote on. Rules, which are the regulation, I brought that to you. We reviewed it. You gave me input. We went back and made those adjustments. And the rule, which is our responsibility, is there along with the exhibit. But the vote is on policies, and that's your bylaws. And I'm following your bylaws. The rules are the responsibility of your staff to put in place. We brought it. We were transparent about what the process we were looking at. We got your input, and we made adjustments to it.
Did we vote on it?
No, because it's a rule, not a policy.
Okay, so my second question is, you put together a committee.
Correct.
Who decided that what people would be on the committee?
Well, based on what's listed in the rule, it's the responsibility of the superintendent or designee to put the committee together.
So the committee was put together. Is there outlines in your rule on who and what should be on it?
I don't know what the what is.
What is, you had two parents, is that correct?
Well,
You had two middle school teachers, and you had two instructional coaches. One was tech and one was something else. Who made that decision? That's not in the rule.
That's not.
Is that in the rule, the type of people you're gonna pick for your committee? Yes, you put a committee together.
I'm just gonna have to refer to the rule itself, and you can see for yourself what's in the rule, and we tried to follow the rule as it's set up. I mean, was there anything that we didn't?
It's getting back, I don't wanna get upset here, because I promised myself I wouldn't, is that there is no transparency with us, the board. And we're gonna take the heat on this. And the people you put on that committee, they could be the most qualified people in the world, but the process stinks. You have one person deciding who to put on that board. If that one person has an agenda, they pick people who follow that agenda. As simple as that. That's not what public schools are about. It's the greatest thing in America is public schools. It's all about transparency, openness, teaching kids the true facts about history, life, and so forth. And to ban things and say we took a vote, but we really didn't take a vote. I mean, I taught high school for 38 years, I'd say, okay, guy, that's not flushing right now. To me. So the whole thing, and I'm gonna let somebody else talk because I already spoken enough.
I would just like to say that we as a board instill the cabinet and the superintendent to conduct business daily. We have our trust and our faith that you're gonna follow not just the rules, but the resolutions and what's put in front of us. I think the concern that I'm hearing, and I would agree with, is that you did the best of your ability based on your knowledge, and we're hearing public comment, we're hearing secondary comment, and we don't know what happened. And so instead of us getting upset publicly and asking, grilling you, which is what I feel we're doing, because we don't have firsthand knowledge. We're not gonna sit on a committee, we wouldn't be a part of it, but we need to understand what would happen so that we can ask articulate questions other than, did you ban books today? And that's what we're hearing, and that's what we're gonna go off of, that books were banned today. That's the message that we got here, and it feels like that. I would never want to be a part of a district or anything that would ban a book. And I know, Mr. Young, you do not feel that way. And I know your people in your cabinet do not. Can I finish speaking, please? Thank you. So I would hope that you would go back with your people, figure it out, come back and report to us back what happened, and I know you will. But I'd like to not have the back and forth until we have the facts, because we're getting it second and third hand, and I would rather hear it from the people that we've interviewed, have faith in, and then come back and give it to us. And we would like to know, I know when we put other committees together, they're either Brown acted or they're not. And so that, for me, that's a big question, because if it is Brown acted, then the agenda has to be public. We need to report on all those things, and I think that's where some of the confusion is. When we say we're not being transparent, I think it depends on how the committee is put together and the rules that govern it. And so for me, it comes down to, maybe I wasn't supposed to have the information if it's not Brown acted, but if it was supposed to be, then we'll have more questions. But I would like to have a full report for us as a board so that we know what's happening, because there's nothing worse than getting an email, a text, stop in the grocery store saying, hey, did you know? And we kind of do one of these. And so when you hear book banning, it's a trigger word. It's a trigger. We never want to take a book out of a teacher's hand or a curriculum hand. So I know we'll get this straightened out, and I know we're not going to ban books because this board member would not be behind a book banning, and I know many board members sitting here would probably not want it in that avenue. But I know that's a buzzword, and that gets us to sit up. And so I want to make sure we're using the word banning books in the appropriate term, because it's the hair on the back of my neck is standing up, because I don't know the full intent, but I need to know the full intent as a board member. So thank you, and I'd like some clarification soon.
So you think this is a hot button topic here?
Yeah,
Okay.
I am crystal clear from the board, from the public, from everyone, and I'll be responding.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of maybe misinformation going on, and so we'll get it straightened out. I know that this board is not interested in banning books.
And I want to be
and I don't think
crystal
anybody on
clear.
staff is either.
I have said the same thing over and over and over again. There is nothing in me, an English major, someone who believes that literature is important for our students, learning to read and then comprehending and using that information. That is not, I hear a lot of things about myself, and I'm always amazed. And people put a lot of words in my mouth and a lot of beliefs of what they perceive to be true. I'm here in public saying otherwise. So I just want to be clear on that. I mean, I'm amazed at what I hear about myself that I was unaware of. And so I want to be crystal clear, but I will communicate so the board is aware.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Thank you.
Out of here.